My name's Rosa, I'm the Dean at ION, and this little video is really to take you on my journey to becoming a nutritional therapist and becoming the Dean at ION. And it all started, well, it started really at birth, but I'll come to that later. What really was the inspiration for me was my ill health, and like many nutritional therapists, I was extremely unwell and found that the only route back to wellness was through using nutrition, lifestyle, supplementation in a holistic, or what was back then alternative way of looking at health. And as I explored my own health journey, I decided that I wanted to study as well, and at that time there really was only the dietetics option, and I decided that's really what I didn't want to do, because I wanted that holistic approach. And emerging as a training organisation was ION, along with another, and looking at both of them I decided ION was where I wanted to be. So I did my training with ION, which was very inspirational, but I'm also a teacher by background, and constantly at the back of my mind was always this teaching thought of, yes, I'd like to do it slightly differently if it was my organisation. So that stays in the background, and over a period of time I do a lot of different jobs, but always coming back to my nutrition. And eventually I worked for 10 years as the principal of the Rayworth International College, in which I worked to get the nutritional therapy course there recognised by Guildford, and built up a reputation with other organisations. And back then, this was the early 90s, the late 90s, the University of Westminster were beginning to develop their complementary medicine programme, and I thought, and I had been thinking for quite some time, that nutritional therapy needed to up its game in terms of its training, and it really needed to look to the higher education sector for the level of training needed, because what we do with clients is very, very, very complicated, and we're getting them to take things and change their health. So I met with the head of courses at Westminster, and within a year's time I was actually at Westminster, part of the team that developed the first degree program in nutritional therapy, and I was there for 16 years. And during that 16 years, what a roller coaster experience that was. But it made me revisit and reflect on some of the things I'd experienced in my training and also in my short career as a therapist, because really I'm not a therapist, I'm an educationalist, and I always come back to being an educationalist. But there were times when I was a practitioner that I had to sort of step back and think very carefully about what our profession was doing and where it was going. And one of those moments was working with a client who had liver cancer, and she really had become very frightened about food. Lots of people around her were telling her she couldn't eat this, she couldn't do that. And liver cancer is terminal. You don't have very long, and all the joy out of her life had gone, and for that last few weeks of her life she was potentially going to be living in fear. And what she was asking me in the consultation was, can I eat a small piece of meat? I found an organic butcher's, it's only going to be a small piece, and that moment has sort of stayed with me all my life and helped me to formulate how I felt our profession needed to explore its relationship with clients, and how in the early days I was quite instrumental in getting clinical practice very much embedded into nutritional therapy training, and then taking forward national occupational standards and core curricula for the profession. So I've had a lot of interesting experience and journey. And coming back to my birth, one of the things that is really quite impactful at the moment is that I'm a Barker's baby. I was born 2 months premature, and the research shows that I need to take very good care of my health, because I'm 10 years ahead of the normal trajectory of the normal chronic diseases. So being and working at ION keeps me on that path of re-evaluating my health, and what we're doing also with our students and how they work with people's health. Sort of a very brief overview of my journey into becoming the Dean of ION. In fact, I didn't really explain how I got to ION after 30 years, And I got to ION because the university sector in the UK has changed dramatically, and with the taking on board of fees for courses, the course that I ran at Westminster for 16 years, which was highly successful, had to be closed due to funding issues, although we had students lined up and wanting to take the courses. Lots of tears. So when I finished at Westminster, that's when I came to ION. And in coming to ION, I bring with me that level of academic rigour, the evidence-based approach, the really looking at the scholar practitioner journey for our students. So I hope you found that interesting. There's a lot more, and when you meet me on the course, you'll be able to ask me a little bit more about my journey, and I certainly will be sharing my journey with you when I'm teaching on the course. So I look forward to welcoming you to ION, to you coming to share your journeys with us as well.